In the modern age of fire shooting, we've got alternative fuels, accelerants, and even actual injector systems with high pressure fuel pumps and compressed gases. This stuff has gotten properly dangerous. But what a nice car. Oh yes, this is a 1956 Cadillac sedan. Has a big block engine, fuel injected, air ride suspension, and it looks fabulous. It was built by a friend of mine named Murray Pfaff of Pfaff Designs, and he builds crazy stuff. Now I have always maintained that a car that shoots fire is better than a car that doesn't shoot fire. This is the truth, and it is not up for debate. But when I'm talking about cars that are shooting fire, this is probably not what you're thinking of. You see, this particular 1956 Cadillac, it shoots fire with flamethrowers. Cars shooting fire is not exactly a new concept. Back in the day, the 50s, they started off by revving up their engines and then just turning them off and back on, which created a big sort of bang and a fire pop, right? Slowly but surely, people figured out how to manually ignite that fuel. After that came false tailpipes and proper flamethrowers. But now, in the modern age of fire shooting, we've got alternative fuels, accelerants, and even actual injector systems with high pressure fuel pumps and compressed gases. This stuff has gotten properly dangerous. But what a nice car. I look good in this. How do you not look good in this?
Shooting fire on the street gets one into a sort of legal gray area, so in deference to that, my buddy Murray has agreed to meet me at a closed course.
All right, Murray, how mechanically do we make fire?
Just the same way you make fire. You got ignition and you got fuel. I've got 2 fuel tanks there. So those are actually just putting fuel into the exhaust. It's a little bit of a blend. It's not, gasoline. It's not propane. I won't really say what it is, but it works well.
Okay.
And we put it in the exhaust, and then you can see my spark plugs
Just
out here.
regular old spark plugs.
Regular old spark plugs.
And then you got a button?
I do. I've
how
got
it
a
is?
button for fuel, and I've got a button for spark.
Okay.
And you combine those two, and you get about 12 feet of fire out of this thing, maybe a little further.
Usually when I see fire cars, I associate them with giant cans.
Yes.
Is that like a functional mod, or does that just tell people that I shoot fire even though I'm not shooting fire right now?
Well, it does give that impression. No, the big cans actually create a chamber, and it does a lot to just create an atmosphere where the fire is real happy and gives you a big flame. Happy fire.
When my pal Murray isn't lighting puddles on fire, he runs Pfaff Designs, which is one of the most sought-after hot rod design studios in Detroit.
My 56 Cadillac was actually a car my dad forbid me to buy.
This very car?
Yeah.
So how'd you end up with it?
It was actually the month after graduation. I'm at the gas station, and I see the guy who owned this. I made him an offer, never asked my dad twice, and took it home and stuck it in my dad's garage.
So how long from whatever it was to this?
Well, this has been 30 years. The car's been like a suit. You change up, the pattern on it, but it's still the same suit. This was done 13 years ago, so it's kind of a little bit of a classic standard to some degree, but still has my flair with the flames and scallops.
So, but in Detroit, it's kind of been going on here, right? Like the hot rodders are popping fire one way or another for 60 years at this point.
And it wasn't until I got here that I found other people that I could really lean on that were doing this and carried the flame, lit the torch. And I'd go to shows down in Indiana and there'd be whole, droves, 24 cars, doing flames.
How dangerous is this? How dangerous is it to have a fuel or propellant spraying system mounted in your trunk?
Well, let me just tell you, if you hadn't noticed, you're playing with fire. I mean, you gotta be concerned about those around you. You gotta be concerned about the environment around you. You gotta be concerned about carrying fire extinguishers to help you out.
Yeah.
You're playing with fire.
So how does one decide on the correct fuel to use?
Well, as I experimented, I first started with gasoline, right? That seems to make sense, but that was very hard to light on fire, and it lit quick, and there was no real dramatic effect. I've tried diesel, which did burn a little further, but it was black and sooty. So you just kind of play with it until you get the flame that you like, that billowy, big orange, kind of lazy, flowing out of the exhaust pipes. And once you get that, you've made it.
If a car that shoots fire is better than a car that does not, then surely multiple cars that shoot fire are better than one. It's just math. So, Murray invited his friends. There's Bob with his 51 Ford shoebox called Shaboom. The 56 truck is Shaboom Great Balls of Fire, driven by Elaine, the third in the Shaboom series. And the thing that kind of looks like a 47 Ford, but combined with every other car of that era, is driven by Phil, who appropriately named it Not Sure. For this season of Modified, I've had the chance to drive some incredible cars. We've had EVs you can take to the track, Porsches you can take off-road, a Miata with an LS engine, and a Willys Jeep with a Tesla battery pack. I wanted to look at not just the what, but also the how, and most importantly, the why. What drives people to modify their cars? Many people wanted speed, while others wanted to take a car made for one purpose and make it do something completely different. But most people are like Murray and his friends, who ultimately just want to bring joy to themselves and others. For some, that's turning laps on the track. For others, it's shooting big-ass flames straight into the sky. Permits be damned. I'm not sure there's a wrong answer to the why question, but I'm sure there are many, many right ones.